2 points on that. So the first one is that you mentioned that, way back in the conversation that you were mentioning that some students are graduating with debt and then they don't find the jobs to pay that debt. So do you think universities should have more skin in the game, meaning that if they cannot pay that debt back, should universities help them pay?
No, I don't. So that's a recipe for disaster. So no, absolutely no. What we're doing is a much more thoughtful way to deal with that. As I told you, we're spending $50 million more than we were spending in 2016 on financial aid. The reason that we have 54% of our students graduate with zero debt is because we're investing more in students, increasing financial aid, reducing the amount of borrowing that students have to do. That's the way you handle this. You don't do it by essentially creating a situation where the university is expected to come in and underwrite or cover the cost for debt incurred. Keep the education accessible and affordable on the front end and making sure you're providing the means to help students graduate. I don't necessarily buy into this notion of a free education. I do subscribe to the notion of a debt-free education. And so every decision that we're making on the financial aid side, the whole philanthropy side, that's why the main goal of our campaign was to raise money to provide more scholarships and more fellowships to students. And so that's our approach, is to provide a debt-free education, not a free education. Somebody has to pay for it, because in an environment where states don't necessarily pay what they used to pay. When at one point with this university where more than 20% of the budget come from the state, we're sitting here now with about 10% of it coming from the state. So financing higher education is a very complex issue. Our core commitment is to provide a debt-free education, a transformative education to as many students as we possibly can. And I can tell you, sitting here where we are today, there are not very many places, I will have you to know, that can truthfully tell you that 54% of their students graduate with zero debt. You hear just the opposite narrative.
Or even higher.
Yeah, even higher.